Just waiting for 7 o'clock. We're almost there. And it is 7 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Bigger, roll call, please.
Harrington.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Musgrave. Brandon.
Here.
Kinnaman.
Here.
Kyer.
Here.
Delaney.
Here. We have a quorum. I have been asked if the council will please excuse Ms. Musgrave. I would entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Brandon, support by Kinnaman to excuse Ms. Musgrave. Ms. Bigger, roll call, please.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. First on our agenda is the consent agenda. There is only one item on the consent agenda, which is the approval of the regular agenda. What is the pleasure of council?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Kinnaman, support by Kyer to approve the consent agenda as presented. Ms. Bigger, roll call, please.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Public hearing regarding the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, or CWSRF. Mr. Walker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and Council. Tonight is the date and time scheduled for a public hearing to receive public comment on our proposed application for funds from the Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. We have talked about this previously in Council, but this is the public's opportunity to make comment if there is any. Mr. Doug Scott from Rowe Professional Services, who is a consultant at Council, engaged previously to assist with the application due to the fact that there are engineering reports that are required to be attached to the application. So Mr. Scott is here to give a brief overview of the application and the intended purpose, if council would like, and then after that you could open it up for public comment.
Right. Very good. We do need a motion and support to enter into public hearing. What is the pleasure of council?
Can we have the presentation first?
We do
'Cause it
presentation
may
first, then
answer some questions people may have or something.
public
too.
hearing?
You could, that's fine.
Okay. Mr. Scott, yeah.
Good evening. I'm Doug Scott from Rowe Professional Services, as Mr. Walker mentioned. Hopefully you have had a chance to at least briefly review we're calling it the draft project plan. There will be a few changes and stuff like that. We have since it was published, we've refined a few numbers and stuff like that and made a few corrections. Obviously, if you read through it, you found some typos and probably a few
Wrong years.
wrong years. There was a street mislabeled, stuff like that. So again, part of that is we have to. We've been preparing this for you guys, and basically some of the stuff that has been coming out of My Eagle has been coming late, and so they've changed a few rules and stuff like that, and so we had. As part of the application, the village has to have a public hearing, which we're here tonight, and it has to be advertised for so many days ahead of time and stuff. So again, consider it a draft. There has been some changes through there, and any questions and stuff like that we talk about tonight will also be incorporated into that. But as far as the process itself goes, as you mentioned, this is the Clean Water State Revolving Fund project plan. And you engaged us back in December to actually put this together for you. And so this is about the third step in a 8-step plan as far as that goes. The first was back in October. You had us submit a notice of intent to My Eagle that basically says that you were intending to apply. And then basically you have engaged us to prepare the plan. Tonight is the public hearing for for the plan, to basically explain the plan to the public, allow council to ask any questions, that type of stuff. And then basically the project plan is due to My Eagle May 1st, so obviously we're getting dangerously close to that date. And so tonight, what I'd like to do is just basically give you a brief presentation of what's included in the project plan, and then explain the costs and how that's going to impact the village as well on that. And so a little bit of background with the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. This is the funding mechanism that Eagle is using to administer a lot of the federal funds, grant dollars, and as well as loan dollars that are becoming available. This this plan is going to be, or they're going to be using that mechanism for the next 3 years. So if by chance you don't get funded this year, we can basically go ahead and resubmit this or a slightly modified plan. The majority of this, if you've read through the report, you notice there's a lot of background information, there's a lot of stuff about the community, that type of stuff. That shouldn't change other than, you know, a few items through there. So if we don't end up getting funded, we can resubmit it again next year with a fairly minimal effort to be able to do that. So as far as the plan itself, I handed out a drawing that basically shows the areas that are impacted. And so if we start at the wastewater treatment plant there on the top left, as we have shown there, the work scheduled that would be scheduled as part of this project at the wastewater treatment plant would be to replace the rotating biological contactors, or basically the secondary treatment portion of the plant. That system is original to the plant, I think, basically. Isn't it? Yeah, and so one of the main reasons we're looking to replace that is your operators are starting to have trouble finding parts for it. They're actually having to fabricate parts themselves, that type of stuff, and it provides a vital portion of your treatment at that point too. So if it goes down, the system or the wastewater plant is definitely vulnerable to a violation and stuff on that. So we would be recommending to replace that with, and the RBCs, rotating biological contactors, are antiquated treatment. There's still some plants that have it in use, you know, plants that are similar in age to yours as well. But the current technology would be to replace that with membrane filters and stuff, to basically something that's a little bit more of the latest technology, operates a little bit more efficiently as well. So that would be the first portion of the project that would be, or I guess as we go down through the list, that's the first item. The next would be to replace the sanitary sewer on North Street and Sherwood Street. And if you're familiar with your system, the North Street is what we would refer to as an interceptor sewer. It's a 24-inch sewer for the most part. Along it, there's a smaller section in there as well, but the majority of that is 24-inch, and so it's a critical collection portion of your system that flows out to Saginaw and then up to Airport and into the plant. So the DPW has had several repairs that have had to be made in there, and there's some other critical issues there. It's part of your asset management plan. That section was identified as a should be replaced within the next 5 years type situation. So that's why that one is on there, as well as the fact that, again, it's a 24-inch sewer. If something were to happen to that, it's you know, puts the village in a very precarious situation. So along with that, we have Sherwood Street going to the north, basically up to Sherwood Court, being replaced as well. I should back up that when we're talking replacement there, since the sanitary sewer generally runs down the center of the road, part of the costs that are presented in here are to replace the pavements as well, to basically reconstruct the roadway in there, because time we dig down, replace the sanitary sewer, you're not really gonna have any road left at that point. So that's, if you're looking at some of those numbers thinking, boy, those are pretty high numbers, it's because of the fact that the road replacement is included in that as well. So that would be the second portion that we're showing on the drawing. The third would be College Street, to basically replace the sanitary sewer along College Street, as well as the pavement on that. And one thing you may be thinking is, aren't we working on reconstructing College Street right now as well, as far as the design of that? Well, we put it in this application, basically in case bids come in too high or whatever on that. And it also allows you that if we do get a significant grant on that, that would be part of that grant instead of basically coming wholly from village dollars at that point. So those are the items that are included in the current plan. And as far as dollars go, basically if you jump back to one of the appendices, I think it's appendices B. Actually, it's appendices D, actually, I guess is what it is, yeah. There, page 4 of that is the easiest to look at, where we basically just have the summary. You can get the detailed cost breakdowns in there, but North Street, if we start with North Street, the estimated cost of that replacement is $1,150,000. Sherwood Street is estimated at $495,000. College Street is estimated at $991,000. And then the RBC replacement at the wastewater plant is the large ticket item, and that's that $5 million. We have it in there as $5 million. That is an estimate. It should be probably a little high as far as an estimate. When we originally ran the numbers, it was about 4.5 million or so in there. But just knowing we're at least a year out from doing that, we've rounded it up to $5 million on that. So if you take all of those numbers and add in contingencies and basically engineering, legal, bond counsel, and stuff like that, basically the overall estimated project cost is just under $11 million. We've got it at $10,996,000. So that would be the number that we would be turning into my Eagle as far as the estimated total project cost. Couple things too. Obviously, that's a large number. Couple things to remember about that is, again, Eagle is telling us that this is how they are going to be administering their grant funding as well. So the anticipation would be the village is considered overburdened based on the median household income, so that's where and I know when we talked back in December, we had said that we didn't think you qualified, but recent stuff came out basically in January that shows, according to Eagle, that the village is in that overburdened status. So the good thing about that is that gets you immediately 20 points, 20 out of 100 points for your application on that. So the scoring system is based on 100 points. If you recall, back in December, we went through that, and I had warned you that if you didn't qualify for the overburden, it was going to be pretty difficult to even be considered for grants. Because you are considered overburdened now, that gives you a lot better chance. As far as we don't know. There's, as we mentioned, there's going to be a lot of competition for these grants and for funding, but hopefully with that, that's going to get you closer. We've seen in previous years anywhere from straight loan funding to 25% grant, even up to 75% grant if a community was significantly overburdened, which would be one more step up from where they've got the Village of Holly classified. So another thing to remember, you're going to be asked to consider a resolution after we conclude the public hearing. That resolution does not commit you to anything. It's basically or commit you to moving forward with the project. It basically is going to offer support from the village that you want to move forward with this, but should the project come back, obviously, we're asking for $11 million. If they come back and say, we'll give you a loan for $11 million, and that's obviously may not work in the village's budget on that, you have the opportunity to reject the loan. You can also adjust the project scope. You can reduce the project scope. You can't increase the project scope. That obviously, they don't want you to increase the cost of it, but they will allow you to reduce the project scope. So you have a couple options on that, and I guess at this point we're recommending that you submit this and basically see where you score and how things come out. Typically, they release the results of the scoring applications usually in late June, July. We're anticipating this year, because they changed the program up a little bit, it's probably going to be closer to August. Everything we hear from Eagle is that this is going to be interesting, because they're kind of learning on the fly as well on some of this stuff. So I think that's all I had for you as far as what I wanted to present to you tonight. If you have any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to answer those, but also we can answer the public questions as well on that. So
I have questions, if that's okay.
Wait. Okay, taking council questions now, yes.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. You mentioned that when you were working on the different roads, you'll be tearing up the pavement and repaving, and I was wondering if this is going to line up with the timetable being congruent to meeting the need for road repair, as opposed to coming in right after the roads had already been repaired to tear them up again. And
exactly that, and that's obviously exactly what we don't want to do. We because the paving and everything is included in this work, it will all be done at once. Obviously, we'll replace the sewer, tear out the asphalt and concrete, replace the sewer, and then pave back after it. One thing too, just as far as timeline on that, assuming that they release the results in August, basically that allows you to move forward with the actual design. Keep in mind, this is just a conceptual report on that. That allows you to move forward with design with the anticipation that probably the projects, and this could be actually a phased project as well, but the soonest construction would probably be probably about a year from now.
A year out.
Basically the 2024 construction season. So.
okay. On page 10, it mentioned a little bit about water quality, and it said there was no major point sources or non-point sources of pollution. And I've been wondering about the taste, hardness, calcium, and if anything that's in this project is going to alleviate.
This is clean water, which is deceiving because we're making the water clean. So this is wastewater, and so
Okay.
and good question, but
this is aimed at sewage.
Correct, and
Okay.
so when I'm back in front of you in a couple weeks, we'll be talking about clean water, and we can answer that question a little further on that. But this project is only the clean water, only the sewage, and so it will not impact any of that.
Okay, thank you,
Yep.
that's all.
When doing the RBC replacement, is that something that you do as a rotation? I've been down there. What do we have? We have 3 ponds right now?
We have actually 4 types of treatment. We have primary clarifiers, then it goes through a tricking filter, then it goes through a secondary clarifier, then it goes through the RBCs. So the RBCs were part of the original treatment plan, but now what we call polishing. So it's not a primary treatment source. So we'll have to do some testing, but we're hoping to eliminate that and put these membrane filters in, because that's the pinch point right now when we have high flows is our filter system. So by putting these membrane filters in, it'll help with capacity and overflow issues.
Cool, thanks. So any thing that we do today is basically all we're saying is, yes, we would like to apply for the possible grant loans.
Right. We basically, Debbie will read the resolution, I'm assuming, but basically you're supporting the plan, and she's gonna talk about, or she's gonna mention alternative 2. I guess that's one of the things we should have discussed in there. Part of the plan, they require us to look at various alternatives. So the alternative 1 is do nothing, and basically, we're not gonna do a project. Obviously, that creates issues for, sure, it's not gonna cost anything for you immediately, but when DPW or something goes down at the plant and they're doing emergency repairs, obviously the cost of all of that is out of sight, plus you risk violations as well in that. So the do nothing option, they always make you throw it in there just so that you can explain why we're doing what we're doing. Alternative 2 is basically what I explained to you tonight, and alternative 3 would look at alternative methods as far as what we had in there was like pipe bursting and that type of stuff, which really doesn't work for what we're trying to do here, because pipe bursting would basically be going through and expanding the existing pipe and putting a new pipe in. And if you think about that, it's an active sewer, and so the ways that you would have to do that would be to basically bypass, pump around that, and and then come back and the reason they typically look at that is so that you don't have to replace the pavement, but we've got enough services on this line that you're still gonna have to replace a lot of the pavement anyway. So it ends up, there's really not too many other options as far as how to do this. You're replacing the sewer. It's not like you're gonna take the sewer and put it over on the next road over. You have to replace it basically in the same location. So we have to kind of come up with creative alternatives in there to show that we looked at them. But really alternative 2, which is what we're gonna ask you to consider tonight, is really the only feasible option at that point. So
You had mentioned doing it in phases, which I think is a great idea. But when you put forth a proposal, that wouldn't be part of the proposal to stick to Eagle.
Correct. They allow you to.
It comes in as a bulk.
Correct, because
And then we could actually break
yes,
it down to a smaller.
Yes,
Okay.
we could say, you know, we're gonna do this first phase under a separate contract, whichever on that. We have some options to be able to do that.
Okay.
Yes. So, but again, what we don't wanna do is go in with a small project and all of a sudden you guys get 100% grant, and boy, I wish we would've gone for the bigger one at that point.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, so, and other communities are basically doing the same thing, so that's why I say it's gonna be interesting this year just to see.
Keep that fishing line out.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and some communities will be successful, some will not, and, you know, it'll be interesting just to see how they rank things, so.
Thank you.
I
We're
just,
like Oakland County stepchild up here.
I just had a quick question. I had gone onto the EGLE website today and looked at like all the people who had applied for this. And for our number on here, it said projected costs at 4.8 million, but we're predicting at $10 million.
So what took place there is that was back from,
Yeah, this is November 1st
yeah, that
when
was
we
what
applied, yeah.
That was what we turned in October, and basically in October, they're just looking for, you know, are you interested in applying, and what's that ballpark?
So you just, okay,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of threw out
So
the number
so
there.
this
So
is-
that doesn't lock us
correct,
in, okay,
right, so
okay.
some have gone up, some have gone down, so.
Alright. Yeah, and you're not lying, because I looked at past recipients, and Oakland County is
Yeah.
not high on that list.
And that is partly because most of Oakland County, you would not find overburdened.
Exactly,
So-
yeah,
so-
yeah.
And in previous years, the village was not listed as overburdened, and that's when I talked with you in December, you know.
So is that what we're going for, is like the 30-year disadvantaged, or 20-year, do we know what we're,
So it would be the loan portion would be a 30-year loan.
right,
Obviously, the overburden, what we're hoping for is grant dollars, that
Okay.
loan forgiveness on that, you know, $11 million project and you pay 2.5 type thing. That's what we could hope for.
okay.
Again, there's no guarantee whatsoever. And I'm anticipating, since you're not significantly overburdened, you know, if you got a grant, it's probably gonna be in that 25 to 50% range
Right.
at best on that, so.
And then,
If
do we
you get
know
grant.
like the average cost to the taxpayers? Like, how much would this increase our water, sewer rates
So
on
what we had
average?
in there is, basically again, if you did not have, if you didn't get any loan dollars in there, that would end up, based on the population and number of servers, or services, it would raise your rates about $10 per month in there, so. Again, that's with no loan,
Nothing.
or no grants.
Exactly.
Right, so.
And so if we've got some of those that are dropping out in the next couple of years, by the time this comes around, we may have some of those current bonds are paid off and dropping out. So this may off, you know, it's not like we're going to go from 37 to 47. We may go from 37 to 30.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct. In 2026, the last water sewer bond will be paid off. And so we've talked before about the need to perhaps bond and get other bonds to do repairs just like this. And so we look for it to go down. We don't have an exact number, of course, until we see what our award is
Get
with
back,
this,
yeah.
and also some other needs that we know we're going to have, but we don't look for it to equal even what the resident is paying right now.
Yeah, the approximate costs are on page 19.
Yeah, I didn't, that's what I was telling them, I didn't get this part of it. I only got like the first 3
So it's the
pages.
current charge for,
19, you're saying?
yep, right at the bottom. Subsection C, user costs. Projected cost to each sewer customer approximately $10.11 per month.
Perfect, thank you, Jim.
No, I thought, throw some spaghetti to the fridge, see if it sticks.
I'd make a motion to open public hearing if we are ready for that.
Thank you, sir.
We have a motion to open public hearing. Is there support?
I'll support.
Motion by
Make it Amber.
Kinnaman, support by Kyer. Ms. Bigger, roll call, please.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Public hearing is opened at 7:27. Is there anyone for public comment?
Don't all rush at once.
Ms. Blanchard, yes.
Good evening. Mary Blanchard, 3444 Old Creek Drive. And in preparing for this meeting, I watched part of the January 2023 Village Council meeting. And I would like to say that I am very grateful to Pat Feeney, Kristen Watt, and Joanna Barnes for speaking up during that public comment period about the Falk Road dump and other water issues, including the Shiawassee River. I also appreciated Joanna stating that we need our municipal leaders to take an active role in protecting all of our water throughout Holly. On April 19th, I participated in the EPA Region 5 Community Engagement Feedback on reducing limits of 6 PFAS compounds nationally. And that is 6 compounds of possible 8,000 to 12,000 PFAS compounds that they're working on limiting. Although this is a good step, what we really should be doing is talking about banning PFAS and doing it now. Just today, I got a copy of an article from the University of South California, and it was regarding children and the amount
Could
of,
I ask a question? Is this relating to this matter? Because this is
Only
a
in if-
public hearing, it's not a public comment. And so I
okay,
agree with the information you're presenting, but I think we, are in this meeting, we're
Okay.
supposed to stick to what would pertain to just this matter. It's a hearing, not a public comment.
okay.
I agree with that in principle. Were you, Ms. Blanchard, were you working towards a connection to the?
I was,
Okay.
just for the
Thank you.
sake that during this EPA Region 5 community engagement, they did speak about the clean water funding and the fact that $5 billion was going to be for small and disadvantaged communities. And would the Village of Holly fall into that category?
The Village of Holly, as we talked about, falls into the overburdened, which is their new buzzword for disadvantaged.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the parts of that, when water managers spoke, was regarding the fact that they did not feel that $10 billion for $5 billion for small and disadvantaged communities, $4 billion for larger communities, and $1 billion for other areas. I would encourage the village to go forward with this. This money is not going to last. So if we put our name in now, we have a better chance, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blanchard. Would any other member of the public like to speak on this topic? Want to make sure everyone has an opportunity.
I have one question for Mr. Clausen, if I may.
Sure.
Mr. Clausen, in here, I read that there are areas of the village that are not serviced by our wastewater. They don't have sewage, and
Very few, I'm trying to think offhand.
would that be back up LeGrand and Rose?
There is sewer up there.
I was shocked to read that.
Yeah, there's very few, I'm trying to, I can't think of one right offhand.
Where are you at in the report?
Oh, I read through the entire thing, and it just came across and it said that there were a limited area of the village that wasn't serviced by water and sewer.
Okay.
I've lived here
Is that- is that-
forever. I didn't know any of it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think where that's at in the report. 'Cause
It just popped up at me.
Okay.
After the meeting, I'll get with
Yeah,
Al.
okay.
Okay.
There's some vacant land that doesn't have sewer to it, so if it were ever to be developed, they would have to run sewer to
Oh,
it.
so that's what it was.
Yeah, there's some area.
There's
around
no
Bush-
residents that aren't on our, within the village that are not on our system.
Well, very few. So there is a house or two along Bush Lake if you come in off of Grange Hall Road. And so as you go back, so if houses are more than 500 feet off the main, they weren't required to hook up. Eventually, there's some vacant land surrounding that. As that develops,
Oh, yeah, there's that bit of property right in between there.
that's correct.
Isn't that a file?
So Mr. File owns about 10 acres in there. Mr. Iafano also owns a very large portion which he is contemplating developing. And as both those parcels develop, they will be required to connect to the system because then they'll be within the range.
Right. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
And where were those again? I'm sorry.
Along Bush Lake off Old Lake Court,
To the top.
which you get to off Grange Hall
You get
Road.
right back in here.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other than that, I think we should
Yes.
move forward.
So maybe one of my questions that I ran across was, it talks about no significant changes to the population or needs. And there's review currently of like the next expansion level out at Pulte Silverman section out there.
But that capacity was accounted for when they expanded the system in 2006?
It was or was not?
It was.
It was?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
part of that expansion.
Okay. I'm looking at it when you say that there will be no significant changes. That will be a significant increase from what we've got currently as a load.
The system was redesigned in 2006.
Right. The system is there for that capacity,
Right.
but it's not currently in existence, is what the residents are not currently in. You see what I'm saying? That,
The overall system, the general system is there. What
Right.
isn't there would be what I would call their local sewer system. So
Right.
wherever the land is undeveloped. But
Right.
our system itself was improved to handle that capacity in
Right.
in '06, so.
yes. And I agree with that. I'm thinking that the report, though, is saying that that additional development is not considered in increased use. Or, that there will be a change coming, additional need. I know that we built an expectation for that, and so it's not that we are short that, but the capacity or the usage will go up as that comes online. And so, to me, the report kind of made that statement that we're not looking at seeing any significant addition to the amount of service that the system's going to receive.
But the system was designed for that already.
Yes,
So even though that will be a change, it won't affect our system because the system's been designed for it.
right. But if we're talking about asking for funds, it might be better to say there is significant expansion projected that will put a greater need on the system, even though it's got the capacity. It's regardless of the capacity. It's that the report says that there won't be any change in the need. But the need is going to increase.
Well, but the need has already been met with the expansions, previous expansions. So if we were to say that,
Built into the system.
The-
But I see what you're saying.
Right.
But if we went at it from that angle, wouldn't that lessen our burden?
So we can take,
Okay.
we can take a look at that. As Mr. Clausen said there, we need to be a little careful about saying, you know, the treatment plant doesn't have enough capacity on that, because then we end up having to over-design things. and stuff.
Right.
But I see the angle you're taking, and I think we can weave some wording
Right.
into that you know, there will be some additional burden on the existing facility, and again, if we leave those RDCs in there, they're gonna get even worse or something like that. So we can,
Right.
we can see what we
Right.
can weave into that, so.
Right.
I had a question, too, about the wastewater treatment plant. I think I read somewhere in here, it was talking about, like, we've got overfill that goes into the river. Is that correct, or no?
no, we don't have RSO, which is, or ISO, which is an illicit discharge.
Okay,
We have capacity storage tanks, so what happens is it just keeps circulating through the plant
okay.
until we're able to treat it correctly, and then it's discharged to the Shiawassee
I just
River.
thought, that would be a good point, too, of, that we need to fix that so that we don't risk any environmental
I
contamination.
think what we said in there, because they asked me
You gotta
specifically.
come up here.
Yeah, sorry. I think what we said in the report there, and I'll go back and check that, but I think they require us to, has the village had any significant overflows? And I think we said, no, you have not. I think that's maybe what you.
Where I
needed.
saw that in there, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's the way it was worded.
Yeah, that's, because again, if you do, then obviously they're gonna want you to fix it and stuff, but fortunately, you have not had any, issues, so.
Knock wood. Knock wood. I don't think that's wood, though. I think it's concrete.
Are there any other questions from council?
I'd make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
Right. Motion by Kinnaman, support by Perkins to close public hearing. Ms. Bigger, roll call, please.
Harrington.
Yes.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Public hearing is closed at 7:40 p.m. There is no old business. New business. Only one item, consideration of the approval of Resolution 2023-019, adopting a final project planning document for wastewater system improvement and designating an authorized project representative. Mr. Walker, anything further on that?
Nope, that sums it all up. It's just as Mr. Scott explained. This is a required step if council wishes to proceed in this application process.
Do we get to read my last copy?
Of the resolution of the plan.
The plan.
The question was, if it wasn't heard, will we receive a final draft
Yeah.
of the plan?
You will definitely receive a final version of the plan. I will say though, since we have to submit it Monday, no later than Monday, it will probably, by the time you will get it about the same time the state will.
I just want
Yeah,
to.
but yes, you will get, basically, we'll make it available to Ms. Bigger, and she can get it to council as well.
And what we'd like to do, if it's okay with council, is we'll just include it in your May 9th council packet,
Yep.
along with that, not as part of the packet, but along with it.
As an informational. Yeah.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to accept Resolution 2023-019 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Kinnaman, support by Perkins to approve the resolution. Is there any further council comment desired on that item? Is there any public comment desired
You
on
already
this
had
item?
that. You already had
I
that.
don't have that.
Well,
This is a different scenario. Sorry.
sure, but just to be thorough, so one is not accused of anything, you know. Sometimes we have problems with those things.
Yep.
All right. Ms. Bigger, roll call vote, please.
Kinnaman.
Yes.
Kyer.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Delaney.
Yes. Motion carries. Is there anything else? All right. Meeting is adjourned at 7:42. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
I have tickets to the chamber